Back to the Garud podcast. I hope all of you have been enjoying the episode so far. And just as always, I have a humble request to all of the viewers of the podcast to please subscribe to the channel, as this will enable me to bring more and more guests on the show. In this episode, I got a chance to have a conversation with Mr. Boris Otter, who is planning his own space missions. Alongside with him, five other astronauts will venture out with him into the realms of space. They will be conducting a multitude of complicated experiments, and they'll be gathering scientific data and bringing it back to Earth. Mr. Otter has flown a wide range of airplanes and has even undergone cosmonaut training in Russia. We got a chance to talk about his flight training, his career as a locomotive pilot, his career as his job as a ground dispatcher, and even an air traffic controller simulator pilot. We had a conversation for almost an hour and 20 minutes where we covered a wide range of topics within the field of aerospace engineering, aviation, and private spaceflight. I hope all of you enjoy the next episode of this podcast. And as always, please do let me know what you think in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Garud podcast. Thank you. Okay, so recording is started. So welcome to the podcast, Mr. Otter. It's a pleasure to have you join us today. I'd like to thank you for accepting my invitation. You have a very, very busy schedule, but you still accepted my invitation. Thank you. And so your career has been spanning diverse horizons. Mr. Boris Otter embarked on his journey as a professional fireman in 1995 before venturing into the realm of space exploration. In 2014, he underwent rigorous private cosmonaut and zero gravity training in Moscow aboard the Ilyushin 76 MDK aircraft, laying the groundwork for some of his upcoming space missions. Holding a ATPL as well as licenses for helicopters, gyrocopters, military aircraft, and even seaplanes, Mr. Otter's experience traverses the skies and beyond. Notably, he also serves as a passenger train pilot in Switzerland, so showcasing his versatility in transportation. As the founder and current president of the Swiss Space Tourism Organization, Mr. Otter spearheads initiatives to make space exploration accessible to all. An intriguing facet of his endeavors lies in the role as a commander of forthcoming space missions planned independently alongside a team of five astronauts. Their upcoming voyage aboard a New Shepard rocket by Blue Origin promises a wealth of scientific exploration, including investigations into space sickness symptoms. Mr. Otter's interactions with esteemed astronauts further enrich his perspective on space exploration. Throughout our conversation, we'll delve deeper into his space missions and aspirations. For more insights, you can find Mr. Otter on Instagram and LinkedIn, which I'll link in the description below. And I will also link the Swiss Space Tourism website linked below. Yeah, so we can begin. So the first question I just like to ask everyone, like who just comes on the show, is like, what initially drew you to pursue a career in the private space industry?
Actually, it was following my career in aviation. I became first a glider pilot, after aircraft pilot, and then I started to make aerobatic license, helicopter, gyrocopter. I was flying more or less everything that I could, and I was looking upstairs and I was thinking, what else can I do? Now I know how to fly aircraft, I know how to fly helicopters, even seaplane. I was doing in Canada, by the way, and I was looking upstairs and I saw space. I was thinking, wow, why not to make something connected with space? And my first idea was to make zero gravity flights like astronauts, because I was thinking this is the first level you can reach to become an astronaut, to try to be in zero gravity. That was the point for me, to make zero G flights.
Okay. And just as like a follow-up question, so you were in aviation before you ventured into the private space industry. Could you maybe like just perhaps share like what sparked your interest in aviation, leading you to pursue like so many different licenses for like various aircraft?
Yes, actually, what is absolutely incredible in aviation is when you are flying. I mean, you are in command of an aircraft that is above everybody, and you have such view. And the sensation that I got by flying myself aircraft, by being aerobatic pilot or even helicopter pilot, was feeling like to be outside of this world. It's something that not everybody can do, not everybody can access. But I was a guy who was inside the aircraft in command. With my license, thinking, wow, I just did it. I mean, it was putting myself to a position of pure happiness and pleasure. I just love to fly. But unfortunately, in my career, if I can give you this information, I was always the one who was paying to fly. I never had the chance to be paid by a company. I paid all my license, so I was working hard in order to get enough money to pay for my flight time. And when I started to make a lot of license, I had the chance to be also an elite sportif. I was making ice hockey as an international referee, head referee. And the money I was getting by doing sport was paying my flight time. And this is how I could reach the point that I have now reached. I mean, to get a license on almost all things that can fly on this planet. It's by working a lot and using the money that I was getting to pay my flight time. Nothing was given to me. I had to work hard to get it.
Mm. And like just out of curiosity, which aircraft did you enjoy flying the most, or like which branch of aviation did you enjoy the most as your time as a student pilot in aviation?
Okay, I have one aircraft. I can say it was my best aircraft that I flew, but I flew it only one time in my life. It's a Russian military aircraft, a Sukhoi 27. It's a military jet fighter. And I had this chance to fly this aircraft in Moscow a long time ago. It was in 1994, when they just opened borders to tourists to fly inside real military jet aircraft, and to be in command of this aircraft, to get 6 Gs of acceleration under my control, because the pilot who was with me sitting in the front, I was just sitting behind him a little bit higher, he was telling to me, your control, okay, my control. So I was taking the stick, putting full power, turning left 90 degrees and turning at a high speed range, and got 6 Gs continuous. I was feeling like Tom Cruise, in Maverick. It was exactly the same situation. I was becoming a military pilot for a while. I mean, this was really my best aircraft. But on what I flew, with what I was qualified to fly, it's helicopters that gave me the most interesting times. Why? Because with an helicopter, you can just stop to fly and look around. You are in the air, not moving, and you can push on the left pedal and you make a 360 without moving. You just turn around and you are at 3,000 meters high, and you watch around you and you say, my goodness, I'm flying like a bird, but I'm not moving. And then you push the stick forward and your helicopter is starting to go down, to accelerate, and you take again control of the machine. And this is something that I was always thinking, it's amazing what you can do with an helicopter. You could land also any place you wanted. You could really do things that were not possible with an aircraft. But on the other side, I liked aviation as an aircraft pilot, because I was making aerobatics. And when you make aerobatics, you can make whatever you want: looping, rolls, spins, inverted flight, zero gravity flight. Also, all these things you can do being in command of an aerobatic aircraft. So it's 3 different points that I really appreciate: military jet, helicopter flight, and aerobatic aircraft. All of them were top, but my favorite is Sukhoi 27.
Yeah. Yeah, I follow you on Instagram now, so I've seen some of your pictures, and I've watched some of your YouTube videos as well. I think you are flying an aerobatics plane in that. And so you've had an extensive background in business aviation. You were the director of, or deputy director of ground operations at Geneva Airport. So during this time, or like during this tenure, what sort of experiences did you have, and like what did you learn on the ground aspect of aviation?
Actually, this was interesting job, because when you are a pilot, you are sitting inside the aircraft and you received a lot of documents, which are notice to airmen documents, which are weather briefing, load sheet of your aircraft, seat plan of the aircraft. And all these things, you are just checking them if it's okay, if it's within the limits. But when I was working as a deputy postal air ground operation, it's a job of a flight dispatcher, meaning that I was suddenly the guy who was preparing for the flight crew, for the pilot, for the commander, all his documents, meaning that I was making his flight plan, I was making his alternative airport, I was making his route, his flying level, I was checking the weather so he can have alternate, his fuel consumption, all the job of the pilot. I was doing it because I was a pilot. So I understood exactly what I was doing. And the chance that I had also, it's something that not many people could do. How many people do you know had the chance to fly inside a business jet? Do you know some people around you? You know some of them. So they are either pilots or crew members or very rich, because to go inside a business jet, it costs a lot of money, or they work in this domain. And me, since I had the chance to work in this domain as a flight dispatcher, I could fly 5 times in business jet aircraft, Cessna Citation, Sabre Liner, Challenger. It was something absolutely great. And even sometimes I was alone, the one and only passengers on board during a ferry flight. And to have this feeling to be inside a business jet aircraft, not even being the pilot or the client, but just to be on board is something like, I mean, to go into a Rolls Royce as a passenger, it's something luxury that you will do not many times in your life. But I had this chance to meet and to work with people who were flying such incredible and amazing aircraft and carrying some VIP passengers. And I remember also that during the time I was working for my company, they succeeded in making the world turn fastest time ever made by a business jet aircraft. And it was a little adventure because on that special days when we were making this world record, it was a volcano in Iceland that we started to go into eruption. And at the time, they were going towards this volcano in Iceland, and they had to divert and to come back for a while to land again and stopping somehow the process of making the world record. But they could take off, manage to take off, and we made them another flight plan, and they could make it via more south way because the north way was completely blocked with the ash of the volcano. That was an amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember that volcanic eruption, but that was a very, very long time ago.
Yeah.
And so like, how did you just kind of like, just out of curiosity, how did you make the transition like from being a ground up, like deputy director of ground operations to like your current role? Like, how was that transition?
Well, transition when I was working in business aviation was a little bit brutal because I did not expect it to happen. We had to face some legal problems with maintenance of the aircraft, meaning that the aircraft were not having correct maintenance. And that was a management decision to do like this. And some pilots did not like this situation and they complained, meaning that the Federal Office of Civil Aviation decided to close the company and they lost their license. So I lost my job. Simply said, it was like this. I was facing a situation that I did not expect and I did not deserve, but I had to go to another direction, meaning that now I'm trained pilot, as you understood, meaning that it's like to fly an airplane, but without wings. Technically, we are doing the same. There are some points we can discuss maybe later on, because I think one of your questions is connected with this, but it's exactly the same, except that we are on ground without wings, but we are commander of our ship, let's say like this.
And so, in the introduction, I just kind of, I briefly mentioned, I mentioned that you are a locomotive pilot, and I've never had a chance to talk to a locomotive pilot before. And you have an impressive 8 type ratings, and like, could you just maybe provide some insight on like what this job entails, what sort of responsibilities you have, and you're responsible for like hundreds of lives. You're traveling at very fast speeds, and like what specific challenges also do you occur when operating locomotives in Switzerland, as it's a country which is like renowned for its intricate railway network and diverse terrain as well?
Okay, so few words about the locomotive pilot job. Actually, when I'm in command of a locomotive, it's something that is longer than an aircraft. It can be 400 meters long. It's more heavy than an aircraft. It can be up to 800 tons, for example, and it carries more passengers than an aircraft. I can have more than 1,000 people on board. So the responsibilities are similar as a trained pilot, as an aircraft pilot, let's say like this, but let's say that the trained pilot has much more responsibility because longer, heavier, with more passengers. And what we have that is a really big difference between a trained pilot and airplane pilot is that when you are driving a train, you do not care about fuel. You will never run out of fuel. You are going with electricity. As long as it's current, you can continue to drive. It's a non-stop travel, let's say like this. And the second point is also connected with the fact that when you start to work as a trained pilot, you are automatically becoming a commander. It's no co-pilot like during 15 years in airlines, and then you are waiting to go to the left side and you become commander. You start in train automatically being a commander. When you finish your exams, you are the one in charge, you are alone. And very fast, after even 1 month, you can have some students pilot who are coming next to you, and you are learning them how to be in command of a locomotive. And this is amazing because after 1 month, you are already the instructor. So it can go very fast in the train as a trained pilot. And you need also time, to get sure of yourself because the job is very demanding. You need to be aware always. You are going towards traffic lights. When it's green, it's okay. When it's red, it says stop. And when it's orange, it says be careful, soon you will stop. But it's not only this. You can have also some human traffic, let's say like this. It can be sometimes that some people are crossing just in front of your train, and some of them, they are not just stopping, they stay in the middle of your highway, and they just are getting hit by the train. It's to get suicide, let's say like this. I had to face one time the case, and I can tell you it's not funny when you are in command of a train and someone is jumping in front of you. You can never stop before. You can hit animals also, like pilots, bird strike, we are having a lot. In the air, pilots are getting a lot of incident with birds. In the train, it's the same story when you are running at 200 kilometers per hour and the bird is trying to cross. Can make big impact and no chance for the bird, but for the train, it's okay. We are always surviving this kind of impacts. And what is also about adverse weather? Okay, if you drive during a rainy season, your train will not work as good as when it's dry because your braking coefficient will not be the same. You will brake very bad. It can be even slippery, let's say like this. So you need to be careful when you are entering a station because your speed should not be too fast. If you are too fast, you will pass the station and then your passengers cannot go out of the train. This is like a pilot who will overtake the runway. It's not a good idea. So you need to be really aware of your external conditions, of your braking actions, also of your train. Sometimes you have some brakes that are not working, and it's clearly said your train is working 80% of the brake capacity. So you need to reduce your speed and you need to start to brake earlier. All these points you need to be aware, even when it's snow or fog conditions. It's like an aircraft pilot. You are aware of the situation. You need to respect the most important point, which is the safety. Safety for you, safety for your passenger, safety for your train. And it's very important to have someone in command who has done and passed all tests, psychological, psychical, interview with psychologue also, because you cannot take the risk to put someone who is in command of a train and who will start to think about his holidays when he's in command. When you're in command, you're in command. You are not listening to music. You are not reading the newspaper. You are not using your iPhone. You are concentrated on what you are doing. And every source of disturbance can lead to a possible problem, let's say like this. Because when you are overpassing a speed limit, this is actually what is stopping the train. You are too fast. There are some systems that will automatically block the train by making into actions all the braking systems. And your train will stop in middle of nowhere, and you need then to call and to explain why it stopped. And suddenly you realize you made a mistake. You did not see that it was a speed limitation active. You did not reduce the speed of your train fast enough. So you are responsible of this situation. But after you should also think that you cannot stop everywhere. Normally, you never stop a train inside a tunnel, for example, or over a bridge, because if you need to evacuate due to smoke or fire or whatever, good luck with passengers. In a tunnel, it's no place, it's dark, you don't know which way is the closest to go out. In a bridge, it's even worse, people can fall from the bridge. So you need also to be aware that you should be able to go out of the tunnel or outside the bridge in order to use the safety rules first. Okay, there are some points. And one more point interesting also, maybe people don't know, but when you are driving a train, you need to put your feet onto a pedal on the floor. And if you are not moving, after a few seconds, the pedal will make a noise like beep. And if you are not reacting, your train will automatically stop. So if the driver is becoming unable to drive because of medical reason, the train will automatically stop. This is something with an aircraft that is more difficult to do.
But so like, do you travel across Europe or like only in Switzerland as a locomotive?
So I make, like you would say for an aircraft pilot, international, intercontinental, and European train, because I can go to France. I have also the qualification to drive French train in France. This is a special qualification when you live and work in Geneva. And I'm going also on long way, meaning that I'm making all Switzerland. I'm going to Saint-Gall, to Lucerne, to Brieg, to Zurich. It's long destination, and I'm making closer destination around Geneva, for example. So I'm driving, as I said, I have 8 type ratings of train. I'm driving from small to the admiral ship of CFF, which is my company. It's a 400 meters long train.
Okay. And like just for like somebody who maybe wants to become a locomotive pilot, like what are the training pathways like and qualifications you need? Like where do you start to become a locomotive pilot?
It's very similar if you want to become an airline pilot or a train pilot. I'm telling you why. During COVID, a lot of airlines started to reduce their flight capacity, and a lot of pilots suddenly did not have an aircraft to fly. And what they did in Switzerland, they all came to become trained pilots. A lot of them thought that if in case they cannot fly any more aircraft, I want to fly instead the train, to be in command of the train. And that's what several of them did, like also I did. I mean, I was pilot, I became trained pilot, and I don't regret it because I'm home every evening somehow. I don't have too much jet lag to deal with. And the salary is also not bad. So what to do? Okay, first of all, you need to apply. It's information day. You need to go and to see because it's irregular schedule. You can work late in the evening or early in the morning. You work also in the weekend and during days off. So for family life, it's not always the easiest part of the job, but for aviation, it's the same story. Then you need to have an interview face-to-face with one of the recruiter who will see your motivation, and they will see if what you are telling is normal or if you are completely outside the subject. And then you have a psychological test, and this is the most complicated one. You need to deal like a pilot. Really, you make a lot of tests to see if you are fast, efficient, if you see the colors, if you can react to noise, to several things at the same time. And all these tests are eliminatory. You have 4 to make in a row, let's say like this. And if you pass the first one, you go to the second one. If you pass the second, you go to the third. If you fail the third, you are out. Meaning that on every level, you can be refused to go forward. And if you pass all this, then you have medical visit. Medical visit, same as pilot. You will have a eyes check, ears check, general condition, your heart, your tension. And if you are okay, then you can be invited to the course of becoming a trained pilot, which is between 14 to 18 months. Let's say like this. Same as an airline pilot license. After, it can be a little bit longer if you are not fully qualified until the exam. Then they extend you for you to improve until you are really on top to go to the exam. And after you pass the exam, you are in. You are becoming commander of a passenger train, and you are driving in all Switzerland at 200 kilometers per hour, trains that are 400 meters long, 800 tons. And that's it. And then you start your career.
And like technology is evolving, and how do you and like the rest of the locomotive pilots like keep yourself current with like, you know, the latest advancements and innovations in locomotive operations to enhance like efficiency and safety?
Okay, so when you are driving one type of locomotive, you have been completely instructed and formed on it. You pass an exam. When your exam is passed, you have an iPad, and in this iPad, you have all informations connected with the train that you are driving, meaning that if you have 8 ratings, you have your 8 location on the iPad where you can find all information for normal procedure, abnormal procedure, general procedure, general information. It's like type rating for an aircraft. It's the same. Normally, things are not changing too much. It can be several improvements on the way of electronics, things like this, but it's not too much change. The biggest change is when they change the type of train, and then you get new instruction, and you need to follow up to be able to pass the exam on the new type of train. And we have also course every year that is to follow up general informations, because sometimes the rules are changing. What you were doing yesterday is not what you will do tomorrow, and you need always to be updated about that. So you have a full day course that will help you. And in case you really need, you can go to simulator, because we have also train simulator. When you are training the same things as pilots, suddenly you can have a major defect on your train. It can be fire, it can be some chemical event in front of you. You need to react. What shall I do? Shall I stop? Shall I continue? It can be electrical shutdown. Then your train is having no more fuel. It's like this. You need to react also accordingly. Or you can go suddenly in front of a red light, meaning that you need to stop, but you will not be able to stop because the distance is too short. What you do after, all these things you cannot simulate in reality, but sometimes you will face them. I had several situations when I was facing simulator situations that became real. So you should really be aware that anything can happen anytime when you are driving a train. It can be a car in front of you, it can be a guy jumping, it can be an animal, it can be electrical problems, it can be a red light. All these things I was somehow facing, not the car, but I mean the rest, yes. So you need always really to be concentrated and aware of what's going in front of you. You cannot just watch like when you are driving a car just in front of your nose. You need to watch far away because you are driving fast, and most of the time it's straight lines. So you see very far away in front of you what is going to happen. If you see something suspicious, it is suspicious. You need to think like this.
So I just kind of like want to talk about aviation again. And so you've had, like, as I said before, you've had like a very extensive journey in aviation. And could you maybe just like share just a few like insights and lessons you've learned, like, or like what sort of experiences you had with each license, with each aircraft, and like just also talk about just your journey in aviation a little bit.
Yes, aviation is really something magical when everything is going well. Because I will give you one of the points that the most is in my memory. It's when I had, for the first time in my life, a real engine failure in flight. I was making an aerobatic flight with a passenger next to me, and he was filming. He had a video camera, and I was trying to make a figure that is to climb vertically like this. And then once the speed is stopped, the aircraft is falling down just like this. And when I was on top, more or less, of this figure, the engine stopped. It was a propeller, and it just stopped simply like this. And then I started to think, my goodness, what shall I do now? And I remember what my instructor he said. He said, if engine stops in flight, don't panic, first of all, because you are still able to fly. And you just push the stick forward, meaning that I had to go nose down to accelerate, to get back some speed, because I remind you that I was almost having no speed, so I had to go back to have speed. He said, don't touch the power, don't touch the mixture, push the start button, and normally the engine should start again. That's what I did. And I was praying, my goodness, restart, restart. And I pushed the button, and suddenly, propeller started again. And I became so excited, but on the positive way. You know, my heart was beating 190, something like this. And my passenger, he was still filming. This guy, he did not, I think, even realize what happened. And I still have the video of the engine with the propeller stopping and me going down. And we had a lake below us. So I had to think also at the same time, what shall I do in case it's not starting? Shall I land? I mean, it's a lake. I can go just on the side and try to land on the earth, but it's no runway. Or we had parachute. Shall we eject and jump from the aircraft that is still flying? It's a lot of questions at the same time in your brain, and you need to react quickly and correctly. And this was a good decision that I took, because I started to launch the engine one more time, and the engine was working again by chance. But if it will not, then I will have to take one more decision. And most probably I will try to land not on the water, because the risk after is that you are going on the back and you are dying. But I would try to find a place on the land where I could put the aircraft down. That would be the point. And what I learned also, it's you need to trust in yourself, because when you are deciding one day, I want to become an helicopter pilot, you know it costs a lot of money. It will take a lot of your time, a lot of your energy. You will have to study a lot of things. It's not easy. Not many people are flying helicopters. But once you decide, you need to go till the end. And that's what I did. I mean, I was saving money, flying, learning how to make landing without the engine moving, auto rotation, we call it like this. It was not easy at the beginning, but finally I understood how to do, and I was able to make it correctly. And this is something that you should believe in yourself. And for the airline pilot license, it's the same. I mean, when I decided to quit the fireman job that I had for my passion, which was aviation, I had to save a lot of money. It was $100,000 US for the full training, meaning that it took 18 months of my life without any revenue. I was not working. I was just studying to become a pilot. And when I was doing that, it came 11th of September in New York, 9/11. And it was the worst time for young pilots, you know, to be under training at that time. Meaning that I said, okay, these things can happen. I finalized my license. I need to go till the end, which I did. So I finalized everything. I made my final exam. I became an airline transport pilot with frozen license. But after, it was not possible to find the job because of this 9/11 events and the big mess that came after during 3-4 years. So I used my capabilities of being a pilot after to work also for SkyGuide, which is an air traffic control company. And I was a pilot in command of several aircraft, speaking like if I was a pilot of all those several aircraft at the same time. But technically, air traffic control was calling me for one aircraft. I was taking my aircraft, changing the heading, the altitude, the speed, the landing, taking off, all I could do using the real voice aeronautic that the pilot are using, because I was a pilot. And I made it for 12 years also. It was also a good opportunity for me to keep my feet inside aviation, and all around me it was only pilots or pilots looking for a job, because they were having the same situations that I had at that time.
Mhm. And like, how do you envision integrating like this knowledge and these skills you've acquired into like some of your future endeavors, like your private space missions?
You are learning a lot from aviation. You are learning navigation, meteorology, aerodynamics, law, aircraft performance, it's safety procedure. so many things you are learning, you are not losing them. I mean, this knowledge which you have in aviation can be transmitted in any circumstance. I mean, you are driving your car starts to burn. You will think, okay, it's like in aviation, you have a safety procedures, and you need to try to escape first, to save the passengers on board, to extinguish it. You are not shouting and crying, saying, "Why it's burning? What to do?" No, you are just reacting because you know how to do. You have an idea of what's going on. And if by chance you are even ex-fireman, it's becoming almost easy, let's say like this. But what I would say is that in the train environment, I'm using a lot of my knowledge because weather, meteorology. When I was a pilot, I had to face fog, snow, thunderstorm. And when I have this in a train, it's the same story. I know what are the dangers. I know how I should act in order to minimize those dangers. I have an idea of what's going on. I know more or less how to protect, let's say, my passengers from this situation. If the situation is becoming a nightmare and it's too much danger, then I will stop the train and say, we should not go beyond this point. It's too much danger. This is something you are using in your day-to-day life, because when you are aware in an aircraft, you are aware in your car, you are aware on your motorbike, you are aware in your life. You are looking around and you see things that most of the people maybe don't see. You are really, you feel the danger, you feel the risk, because you don't want that the rule that is mastering aviation, it's called Murphy's Law, will happen. Because Murphy's Law is telling if something bad can happen, it will happen. You can be sure that if one day you take your car and you have 100 kilometers to drive, but you have fuel for 120 kilometers, you say, oh, okay, I will go. It's okay, I have 20 kilometers reserve. Be sure you will have a traffic jam, you will be blocked, and you will finish with no more fuel. So that's why it's always good to refuel the car before to take the risk to go beyond the limit. Because in aviation, you will never know where is the limit until you have reached it. And when you reach the limit, it's too late.
Like just like looking ahead to your private space missions, how do you anticipate like leveraging your aviation background for like just to kind of ensure like your mission success in some of your private?
Okay, this is a point we did not speak too much yet about the space mission. It's connected with the space project SST-6 for Swiss Space Traveler 6 because we are 6 on board. This is a private project that I'm trying now to coordinate with Blue Origin, and it has a goal to send 6 people into space above Kármán line, meaning that all the 6 people on board will become officially astronauts because they cross this 100 kilometers of altitude, which is a border between atmosphere and space. So in this mission, I took the position of mission commander. Why? Because of my background. I mean, I did not only fly aircraft, helicopter, seaplane, gliders, and now I'm driving a big locomotive train. I also had the chance to go to Moscow, to Star City, where I was staying 3 times for private cosmonaut training. So I made many things. I made, for example, zero-G flight. I flew the military jet. I was making a Soyuz simulator, how to make a docking from a Soyuz capsule to the International Space Station. I was also inside the mock-up of a Mir space station, an International Space Station mock-up. I went to see centrifuge. I did not do centrifuge because I was aerobatic pilot, so I knew what it is to get some G's. And I was also wearing the spacesuit Sokol, for example. And I was getting information on the Orlan spacesuit, which is the one that is used for extravehicular activities, meaning that I have the background that should put me to the position of mission commander. Next to me, I could gather several people with high experience, high level. I have a professional safety pilot helicopter. He's working as an air ambulance pilot helicopter. I have a guy who is a former US military Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and now he's Airbus 320 airline pilot. I have some engineer. I have one guy who was working in European Space Agency for 25 years. I have one guy with submarine pilot. Can you imagine? Submarine pilot. Not many people are doing that job. Huh? So just to give you an idea, I could gather a lot of interesting people, including VIPs. I want to just add that Alyssa Carson, who is very famous in USA. Alyssa Carson, she's a very clever woman who said that she wants to be the first one to go to Mars, and she's following and supporting our project. And at such point that I will show you what we did, because we did not just only create the mission, we also created a mission patch. So you can see the mission patch here with all the names. And, it's my name and it's Alyssa Carson. And this is mission suborbital number 1. But we don't have only number 1. We have also second one. This is a second mission. Why? Because the crew of the second mission are the backup of the first mission. And the idea is that the first crew who will be able to get the funds for his flight will take off. He will take Blue Origin rocket to go to space, and the second crew will be his backup. And we have also one more mission. This one is the best one, but the most difficult one to fulfill. It's an orbital mission called SST-3, Space Historian 3, where we are only 3 on board. It's myself and the 2 helicopter pilots I was telling you about, which have the most experience in flight. And this one should be with SpaceX, but the price is not the same. We are counting about 35 million US dollar. But you know, if you win Euro Millions or lottery, you can have your seat immediately. This is a point that we're also trying to get, because to find the sponsors to make this space mission a reality is not easy, I can tell you. But we are prepared. We are training for that. I'm myself making a training of flying a PC-7 training aircraft in Switzerland. I'm planning to go also to make some other flights and maybe some other zero gravity training, and other crew members are doing the same. We are trying to get on the top level for the moment when we will be able to finalize the mission. For the moment, we are still looking for sponsors and partners, but all is ready for this space mission.
And so you've had a chance to interact with like many renowned astronauts, and I was just going through your website, and like some of these astronauts that had like mind-blowing experiences. And could you like maybe perhaps highlight any memorable moments you've had interacting with these famous personalities?
Yes, actually, you know, I have a chance that is amazing, because if you are thinking about Apollo mission, it's only 4 astronauts left who are alive, 4 of them who walk on the moon. You have Charlie Duke, you have Buzz Aldrin, you have Harrison Schmitt, and Dave Scott. And I had the chance to meet, and sometimes to discuss with all of them. When you are a fan of space and you have the chance to meet not only one, I mean, to meet one guy who walked on the moon, it's already a miracle, I think, because they are really old and they're not traveling that much. So to be at the right time, at the right place, and to be able to access those people who are like VIPs, it's a miracle. Okay. I was in Starmus Festival in 2019 in Zurich, Switzerland, and it was a festival that was gathering former Apollo astronauts. They could have walked on the moon or be into the orbital around the moon, or just made the first Apollo flight. And when I was there, first of all, I saw Al Worden. Al Worden, he was Apollo 15 astronaut, but not walking on the moon. He was turning around the moon while Dave Scott was walking on the moon. So I went straight to him and I just said, Mr. Worden, I want to take photo of you, can I? And he said, yes, okay, no problem. And then I was making already a first selfie with Al Worden, who was walking on the moon. And just a little bit later, I saw, my goodness, Harrison Schmitt, Apollo 17 geolog astronaut, who is the last man now who was leaving the moon. Since Eugene Cernan, his commander, died, he's really the last one of the human who walked on the moon. And I saw him, I went straight to him, I looked into his eyes, and I said, Mr. Schmitt, I want to go to space. And he looked at me with big eyes, and I showed him this. It's my mission patch of Swiss Space Tourism. And he smiled. And I said, this is a present for you. And I gave him my mission patch. He was very glad. And I was thinking, my goodness, I'm shaking the hand and discussing with Harrison Schmitt, who walked on the moon. And we have all seen these incredible pictures of him when he's standing next to a giant moon rock. And you can see that the moon is not completely flat. You have rocks, and he's just next to it, looking small against this big rock. And he was the one who discovered also orange stones on the moon. I mean, that was just really amazing. And this is the most impressing souvenir I have of a meeting with astronauts, even if I met a lot. I can also tell you one more point that was really surprising me. When I made my 0G flight, I was having inside the aircraft a cosmonaut, Russian cosmonaut, Yuri Onufrienko. He's a hero of Russia. He was former International Space Station commander. He made a long-term mission, and he was with us, but I did not know whom it was because he did not say anything. And at the end of the flight, we all finished, we landed, we were having big smile, and he was giving us the hand and giving us a diploma. And I was shaking his hand, thinking, hey, thank you. I did not know still who it was. And it's when I came back to Switzerland that when I was posting some videos and photos, someone told me, you saw Onufrienko. And I said, who is it? He said, it's an astronaut, a cosmonaut. I said, my goodness. And I realized the guy, he was so humble, not telling anything, but this guy, he was a hero. He just went to space and was coming with us to make 0G flight, helping, assisting. That was crazy. And this you can live only in Russia, these kind of things. You have really the best people of the world there, and they are so nice, so friendly, and not arrogant at all. I was very surprised and touched.
Okay. And when do you anticipate the launch of your first mission? Like sometime by the end of this year for SST-3 or SST-1, sorry.
So SST-6 or SST-3, it can be any time starting from now till 2026, let's say like this, because my goal is to become the second Swiss citizen to go to space. And maybe but the European Space Agency, they have selected some new class of astronaut, and one of them is Marco Sieber. It's a Swiss citizen, but his team doesn't have a mission yet, meaning that we have a Belgian and a French astronaut who will lift off in 2026, meaning that until 2026, I still have an open window to make my flight. But this flight can only happen if we have the budget. For the moment, we do not have it at all because it's a lot of money. I mean, to give you a figures, let's say between 6 and 12 millions US dollar for the full capsule. It's not something you can find just by making like this, You need to find correct sponsor, correct partner, or someone who is ready to give you money, either to make this flight become a reality because he likes the project, or maybe he wants also to have some advertisement for his company. We could wear, for example, we have some sponsor. We have actually three sponsors, and one of them is a watches company. Remember, Apollo mission, Omega watches were worn by Buzz Aldrin on the moon. So here we have also one sponsor that gave a watch to the mission commander backup, actually, because I have also a backup who is the helicopter pilot of the rescue team, and he will wear this watch if we can go to make the flight. And we have also a company that is connected with all aviation clothes and things that are connected with aviation, who is providing our mission patches. Actually, all mission patches were provided by our sponsor. We did not pay for that. All was paid and offered by this company. And it could be that if the flight is becoming a reality in a date, we could get full equipment also from this company. But this is only the beginning. You need to start small to get big. You are like in the ocean on a fishing boat, and we are throwing some lines left and right. We are getting some small fish, but small fish are attracting big fish, and big fish are attracting bigger fish. And that's the idea. We need to catch a lot of small things so that big fish will think, okay, if they go, it's good. And then we need to go also. And like this, maybe in one shot, we could get something big. Let's say, for example, a European Space Agency is telling, okay, we are booking your flight, we send you. Oh yes, why not? Maybe I'm dreaming, but maybe it can be. Who knows? Nobody can tell me no in this case.
Okay. And I just want to talk, I'm just a little bit excited to talk about your experiences with specific military aircraft. And so we already discussed you've flown the Sukhoi 27 and the Il-39, and what aspects of these aircraft captured your interest and motivated you to pursue a little bit of time and experience on them?
Okay, so to fly the Sukhoi 27 was not given immediately. First, they asked me to make a flight in the Let-39. It's a jet trainer aircraft that is used for the military pilots training. And I had to make this step first. So I went to this Let-39, photos on my YouTube channel and on my website also are available. And I made a 30 minutes aerobatic flights with this aircraft. I finished completely exhausted. I can tell you it was tough. It was tough because I was not used at that time to make aerobatic. I was still not aerobatic pilots. I became after Moscow aerobatic pilots. So my body was suffering a lot because I was getting 4-5 Gs and many times. But I was feeling tired, but very good. It was a strange feeling because you are happy, but you are very tired. It's like after sport, you are suffering for the moment, you are doing it, but after you feel so good. In aviation, it was absolutely the same. So the next day, because I passed this okay, I got the Sukhoi 27. And when you look at the aircraft, it's big. I mean, it's not small like a Let-39. It's really a big aircraft. You need to climb a ladder to access, to sit behind. After they will start to install you, you will be connected. It's like Tom Cruise in Top Gun, as I said. You have your G-forces suit. You have an oxygen mask. And I remember the pilot, he was telling me with a big Russian accent, if you feel not well, you can use oxygen. And he was showing me where the button of oxygen was. And I can tell you that I was using it in flight. It was good because after getting 6 Gs, I needed to breathe again. It was really, really not easy to get it. But when you are inside, you are sitting first, you are very high. You see your pilot in front, he's a little bit lower. You see his helm. And you see all around you, it's such visibility because it's nothing above. It's absolutely not like in the private aircraft. You see the sky, you see the clouds, and you see the cockpit. It's all in Russian, of course. And then you think, wow, I'm inside a Sukhoi 27. And then procedure starts of the engine, and then we have the clearance to taxi. And then it starts to taxi, and you're thinking, my goodness, it's going to be real because you cannot believe until you are in flight. You are hoping that nothing will happen. Murphy's Law, it can be that something will not work and you come back and you did not even take off. So I was very concentrated on the taking off. And when we were aligned on the runway, I remember exactly what he did. He put the brakes, he put full power. The aircraft started to move down toward the system of braking moving forward like this. And then he put the brakes off. And it was such acceleration, I was blocked inside my seat. And suddenly he pulled up the stick and we were climbing 90 degrees. I remember I was looking left and the wings was 90 degrees from the horizon. Such powerful liftoff. And I felt also the G-forces that was closing my legs to block the blood so that the blood is not going towards my head or down too much downstairs. And then we reached the altitude, and then he started to make several figures. We made looping, we made inverted flight, we made a roll, and then he said, your control. And I remember that I tried to make a looping. We were below the clouds, so I was pulling the stick, but we entered the clouds, and instead of being straight, I started to turn slightly like this, meaning that we came out of the cloud with a non-satisfactory position. And then he said, my control. And he took over control, put back the aircraft to the right position. And I was thinking, my goodness, it's just amazing. And then he let me fly again to make my 90 degrees turn with 6 Gs. And while I was pulling, I wanted to get maximum Gs, I could feel that he was pushing on the other side because he did not want me to get too much in order not to get a black hole, when you don't see because your blood is going to your feet. But I did not have black hole. I did not vomit. I was very, very proud also because you get a vomit bag which you put under your legs. And if you feel not good, you need to remove your helm to take the bag, to vomit, and all in a correct timing. It's not easy when things are going bad. So I did not vomit. I was very tired at the end of the flight. But I was so proud, and you can see on photo, video, I have such smile. I mean, it's a moment of my life that I will never forget. It's one of these time that is printed in your brain on the hard disk forever. And this I never regretted. I spent a lot of money for that, but it was 100%.
Mhm. And so like you kind of had the full spectrum in terms of experiencing G forces. Like you've experienced 6Gs, you've also experienced like zero gravity flight. And I'm just a little bit keen to explore your zero gravity flight experience. Um,
First I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong. And I grew strong, and I learned how to get along. And so you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd have known for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go, walk out the door. Just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye? You think I'd crumble? You think I'd lay down and die? Oh no, not I. I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. I've got all my life to live, and I've got all my love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive. Hey, hey. It took all the strength I had not to fall apart. They're trying hard to mend the pieces of my broken heart. And I spent oh so many nights.
like, could you elaborate your time, like, while being in zero G flight, and how did did it match your expectations, or were there like a few differences?
I learned a lot about this zero G flight because I made some things good and I made some things less good. Let's say like this. So when you are making a zero G flight, you are not only floating 28 seconds 10 times. This is the best part. When you are floating, you just feel good. I mean, it's amazing. You are becoming an astronaut. It's the closest way to feel space. You float. But you can float and do nothing or float and do something. And in my head, on each parabola, it was 10 parabola, I was planning something different. The first one, it's the one of discovery. It's very funny because I remember that they asked us to take by hands a metallic bar and not to let it go. I mean, just to hold it. But I was then starting to float zero G. I was holding this metallic bar. And then I thought, no, I cannot. I need to feel it. I have only 10. So I opened my hand. And then I started to move backwards, being in zero gravity. And I saw my instructor who was looking at me. And at the time, it was going to be the end. And I put my hand just straight to him. And you can see on video, he's taking my hand like this and pulling me back just safely on time before we are getting back gravity, because we are getting back gravity not 1G but immediately 2Gs, meaning that if you are falling from the ceiling that is 3 meters 50 high, you can break something. Even if it's protected all around, it's quite high. So it was the most funny one because the fact that he gave me his hand, we have really this photo that like in Chapel 16, you see the two fingers touching, then it's two hands that are holding each other. After we had photo group, we were all floating together in zero gravity, that was obligatory. And from the third one, it was my decisions. I wanted absolutely to see a bubble of water, meaning that if you put a bubble of water, you can see your face inverted if you look on the other side. And I had a video GoPro camera on my hand, meaning that I was making bubble of water in front of me. I put the video behind and you can see the bubble and my face and it's inverted. And that was something I saw in space, in International Space Station made, and I wanted to do the same and I did. After I had a book, How to Fly Zero Gravity, I took it with me since I was reading it before and he was floating with me. So this book was showing me how to make zero G, and he came with me and was floating with me. And after, I wanted to do Superman Parable. This is the top one. It's one instructor that is taking you above his head, and from the aft of the aircraft is throwing you straight, and you are floating like Superman from the aft to the front of the aircraft until someone is stopping you, because nothing is stopping you except some protection in front of the aircraft. And after, I had several situations when instructor put my feet to the ceiling and I was holding the ceiling by my feet with my head down. It's a very unusual situation. And they were throwing me from one instructor to the other while turning. So after 6-7 parabolas, all was okay. But then I started to feel a little bit hot. I started to feel a little bit green. My mouth became dry. I started to sweat here. And it's all symptoms of space sickness or air sickness. And this I did not expect. And it was possible to take a special pills, medicine against sea sickness, air sickness. It's the same, you know. But I did not want. I said, no, I don't want. I want to leave it real without anything that is touching my body. And maybe that was my mistake because I could enjoy more the last 2-3 parabolas than I did. Because the last one, it was the last one that I could stand without taking the risk to vomit. I finished my 10th parabola. I did nothing. I was just floating. And I remember I wanted to do, but I was feeling not good. So I said, okay, I make it cool. I was going up, down, just floating. It was nice, huh? Nothing to say. But I could enjoy more by taking a pill. So my advice is, if someone is doing zero-G flight, take one of these pills or get a little injection to support this zero-G, 2Gs conditions, because you make 10 parabolas, but 20 times you get 2Gs. You get during pull-up, then you are a zero-G. And after, when it's going against to pull up, you get against 2G. So your body doesn't understand because you are getting accelerations, but you don't see outside. So your body, your internal here doesn't understand why it's like this. And it starts to make you feel uncomfortable. And we were 11 people on board, I mean, paying passengers. And 4 of them were vomiting at the end, 4 of them. So it's quite a lot. Huh? You should understand that it's not given to everybody. Even me, I was aerobatic pilots. The fact to leave such situations 20 times did not make it an easy task. So that's why in NASA, they have an aircraft which was called Vomit Comet. It was a training aircraft for astronauts to try zero-G, because after a while, everybody's vomiting almost.
Okay. Yeah, and like even with zero gravity, I think you also have to be careful of surface tension, right? Because like with the water or some other substance, like I've had a chance to like talk to somebody who was like exploring the problem of surface tension. So with zero gravity, like it's almost like you're drowning, right? If somebody takes in water, or like if they get in contact with water or something like that.
Okay, zero gravity, what I also remember, there's some risk inside the aircraft. You have the risk to be hit by someone, because people, when they are floating for the first time, what they do, they move their arm and they move their their legs. But it is useless. You can move as much as you want. You will not move from a single inch forward or backwards. This is only danger towards the other. And I remember that one time I was going to be hit by the feet of one guy, but I saw it on the side. I said, you need to be aware. And I could just put my hand to protect my face, because if I would not put my hand, I would get the feet full in my face. after I had a collision with a woman because one instructor, he took me and he was making me turn around myself, so I had no control. And suddenly another guy who was launched by another instructor came straight on me, and boom, I was hit by the guy. I did not get hurt, but it was collision in flight, let's say like this. And another time, it was a woman also on board who was later on vomiting. We were hitting both heads together. It seems her head was less solid than mine. It seems she was suffering. Me, it's a big bomb, but it's okay. I mean, I survived. So we had also white gloves. Maybe you see on the videos that I have on my YouTube channel, and you are thinking, why to put white gloves to make a zero-G flight? Is it useful? Actually, before the zero-G gravity starts, there are some lights upstairs the aircraft, halogen, that are lighting on. And when the lights are on, it means zero gravity will start, and those lights are very hot. So if you go towards the lights and you touch them with your hands, you can burn yourself severely. That's why we have gloves. We are instructed not to touch them, but if it happens that you are touching by accident, you are protected by your gloves somehow. And what else could be? I mean, water, yes, when we are putting water is floating, but it's pure water. Even if you get it in your face or in your eyes, it's not going to damage too much your body. No, the main risk is collision or to be hit by someone or to impact the ceiling. I think one of my last parabola, I was hitting the ceiling with my head, but it's protected, so it did not hurt too much.
Okay. And I just have like one final question just about your aviation career before we talk about more specifically your private space missions. And so I was going through your LinkedIn profile, and one aspect of your career which caught my attention was your role as a freelance simulator pilot. And I think you talked about this before as well, where you trained air traffic controllers and you conducted like license revalidations. Like, could you share like the main responsibilities and duties you held in this position, and also provide like a brief overview for our audience of what your work as a simulator pilot entailed?
Okay, so to work as a simulator pilot, you need to be a pilot. Generally speaking, you need to have minimum airline transport pilot license frozen in order to understand what you are doing, because you are simulating instrument flight rules, VFR flight rules, helicopter flights also, military jet aircraft flights. You can simulate emergency training also. So it's everything that is connected with aviation pilots. How many people we are? It can be from 4 till 12 people. We are in front of a computer with 2 screens. One screen is connected with the region we are flying, Switzerland, and one screen is connected with the aircraft we have. We have a list of, it can be up to 30 aircraft, easily 30 aircraft by name. You have company, Air France, British Airways, Virgin, whatever. I mean, all companies by name, and you have a microphone. Then you get some aircraft from your screen on the map of Switzerland. Those are your aircraft. So when the air traffic controller is calling you, he will say, for example, Speedbird 568, climb to flight level 370. Then you choose your aircraft, Speedbird, you click on it, you take microphone, you say, Speedbird 378 climbing to flight level 350. And then you need to enter to your computer 350 and you are climbing to the level requested. And your aircraft is climbing to this level. Then the air traffic controller is calling another aircraft. Air France 156 contact tower 118.7. Then I need to find out where is my Air France. Okay, I'm clicking on it and I say Air France 116 118.7. Bye bye. And then you are switching the aircraft to another frequency that can be taken by another simulator pilot. So we are all working on a space area that is from ground till the high level. One is tower, one is first stage, second stage, last stage, and we are exchanging the aircraft. And in this situation, for the formation of air traffic controller, it can be emergency. For example, we need to simulate an emergency. Then I will put my hand like this and say, Mayday, 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 Speedbird 5678, cabin depressurization, descending to flight level 100, 100. And then the controller, he should take into consideration Roger Mayday, Speedbird, descending flight level 180, and he should give us the road free, let's say like this, air road, so that we can descend without having the risk to collide with another aircraft. So he will call other aircraft and tell them turn right, heading 260, turn left, heading 180, descend or climb to such level. And it's making it very real, because everybody is at the same time collaborating to save the aircraft with an emergency. Those are the points which are interesting. My position was simulator pilot, but I was also responsible of the group, meaning that I had the team leader position. I was also instructor and expert for the exam. I was making exams for the simulator pilots, meaning that I was able to judge if they are able to do the job of simulator pilot or not. I did it for 12 years, so I got a lot of experience. Technically, I was a military pilot also of FA-18, F-5 Tiger, and helicopter, all Swiss Army aircraft, because I was simulating flights from a military airport of Payerne, who was with a base of FA-18, PC-7, all military aircraft of Switzerland. So it was very interesting, because after flying Sukhoi 27, I was somehow in command of other aircraft, but during the simulation of air traffic control. So this is the point. It's very good to work with Skyguide, because it's only professional and passionate people who are working there, only pilots or air traffic controller people who are also, for most of them, at least private pilot. So you are completely inside your other environment. It's a fish in the ocean. It's like this.
Okay. So for like just the final segment of this podcast, I want to talk about your private space missions which you planned. So could you just maybe like briefly talk about the responsibilities for each mission? What I think you talked about this briefly before as well, but like what are the roles of some of your co-crew members, and what sort of process was involved towards like planning these space missions, and how did you go about selecting some of your crew members as well?
Okay, so first I wanted to do it all by myself. I was thinking I want to go to space. I need to have a mission, to join a mission, whatever. But I realized quite fast that alone it was not possible. It's too complicated. It doesn't have enough visibility, enough help. I could not do everything by myself. So I was thinking, okay, why not to create a mission then, and to choose somehow my crew members? But it should be people who are chosen because they know space, or because they are pilot, or because they can bring something to the mission. And I got this final decision last year during SUTUS Summit in Marbella, SUTUS for Space and Underwater Tourism Universal Summit, where I was invited as a speaker. And I was talking with one of the other speakers, who is a former European Space Agency employee during 25 years, astrophysician. He knows a lot of things about space. And he said, I'm interested in your mission. Can I join? And then I started to think, why not? I mean, this guy is really very clever. He has a lot of contact. He knows European Space Agency. I said, okay, we go for it. So I had my first crew member. And then I started to think, okay, with whom I can connect. And I had a lot of Swiss Space Tourism members on my association. And I started to look for the ones who could be interested. And I had Alyssa Carson already, our VIP from USA. Alyssa Carson, very famous. She was selected the best scientist influencer last year. And I was contacting her, and she said, oh, yes. I was thinking, my goodness, she's coming also. That was just crazy. And after I had this submarine pilot also, who was attending SUTUS 2 years before. So we were already in contact. And I was thinking, this guy, he knows all what is connected with this close environment of submarine in space. It's the same. You're also in close environments. He can bring and learn us a lot of things on how to behave in case of emergency. So I offered him to join, and he said, yes, okay, I want. And slowly but surely, it started like this until I got 12 people with me in 2 separate missions. I choose them because of their capabilities, their knowledge, their potential, and their wish to join, because you should be motivated to do such project. It can take years until we will be able to finalize, and we will all work on it. I mean, one for all for one. We are a team. We need to help each other. And we plan to make some scientific experimentations during the flight. Which kind of? So for me, the most important one is the only thing we cannot simulate. I mean, I could simulate 0G, I could simulate 6G inside military aircraft. I could go to International Space Station mock-up to simulate docking of a Soyuz simulator to International Space Station. I could wear spacesuit Sokol. I mean, I could make a lot of things on ground, but the only thing I could not simulate, it was the overview effect. How you react when you see planet Earth from space by your own eyes and you get this overview effect. This is the thing I want to see from my own eyes, and it's not a video or a photo that will give me this shot in the face. So this will be the first project. How do you react when you get this overview effect? How can you describe it? And we are 6 on board, and all of us have this duty to explain on the way back how it makes. Second point, we wanted also to experiment. It's connected with the effect of zero gravity inside the body during 4 minutes of weightlessness. During this period, our body may get some changes, but nobody spoke about that before. I mean, nobody's telling how you feel. Do you feel that you are growing to get some more weight on your face? Is it affecting your lungs? Is it affecting your blood circulation? How you feel? I mean, what are the real description of zero gravity effect on your body during 4 minutes period? And the last point is connecting space sickness. Are you getting sick in space during 4 minutes zero gravity? Yes or no? And all people on board who did 0G flight, they can compare with some things. Because myself, I was doing 0G. I know that it's not during 0G that I was not feeling good. It's during the phase of 2G forces before and 2G forces after, because it was repeated several times. But when you go to space with Blue Origin, you have one time G-forces acceleration, then you are floating, and second time 0G acceleration. Do you get any space sickness during this period? This is one of the points we want to check and to document on the way back. And finally, to communicate about our experience, to share what we did, and to motivate people to follow us on this space tourism opportunities, even say, let's space travelers opportunities.
And so have you finalized the company which will like facilitate this mission? So has it been have you as a crew decided, okay, we will take Blue Origin as the carrier for this mission, or is it possible like SpaceX or some other company may come into play?
Actually, our goal is to fly with Blue Origin. I signed NDA, non-disclosure agreement with Blue Origin, meaning that technically speaking, I have a capsule that is booked, but I need to pay for it. They give me a price that I cannot communicate, but I give you more or less an idea of how it could be. And this will be our goal number 1. We are 6, it's 6 seats on board. We were initially thinking about Virgin Galactic, but Virgin Galactic, they are not crossing Kármán line, meaning that you stay at 80-85 kilometers of altitude, so you are not becoming an astronaut. So I think it's a shame to make such big effort to go to space and not to reach it. You are just stopping in front of the door of space, and I don't want that. I prefer to wait more or to pay more, but to cross this limit and to become once and forever an astronaut. Second option for the space project SST-3. This one is connected with only one company now, it's SpaceX. SpaceX can accommodate 4 people, meaning that we can have 1 professional astronaut on board and 3 of us. That's what we are planning. And the last option that is also possible is China. China is constructing now new rockets that should be available around 2027, 2028 with 7 seats on board, meaning that we could have 1 more crew members on board, and the price should be much cheaper than the ones that are proposed by Blue Origin. So we have these 3 options: Blue Origin, SpaceX, and China via CAS company, China Aerospace System, something like this. We have these 3 options that are now running. It can take times. You know, for the Swiss astronaut Claude Nicollier, who went to space, it took him 15 years being an astronaut to reach space. So I cannot say that in 2 years we can do it. It can take more time, but we are working on it now.
Okay. And like just as a final question for you, what kind of guidance or advice would you want to impart to aspiring individuals, particularly young people who are eager to become astronauts or pursue career as astronauts, or also maybe delve into the expansive fields of aviation?
Okay, so look at the profile of the last astronauts selected by European space agencies. I will give you some advice on which direction to go. Become an airline pilot is not a bad idea. Become an helicopter pilot is also not a bad idea. Become a military pilot is also a very good idea, I would even say. And these 3 points already are major points. After, if you want to do some parachute, I will advise to do. If you want to do scuba diving, do also scuba diving, because you are getting to situations that are extreme and that will teach you how to behave, how you will support stress, pressure, high tension in difficult environment and difficult situation, because you need to be able to deal with all emergency procedure. And it can be that you will one day have to jump with parachute or to fall into the ocean. You need to be at ease with such situation. If you are not someone who wants to fly or doesn't have money to pay for your training, then you can go to the phase of engineer or scientist. We need doctors also, medical people who are able to be sent to space as a doctor astronaut. Why not? I mean, you need to have someone who is able to help and save life of others on board the space station. And one of our astronaut selected, Marco Sieber from Switzerland, he is a paramedic. He was making helicopter flights as a doctor emergency. So this is exactly the situation. They like also a military background because you are following the rules, following the procedure, following orders. They don't want individuals who are doing things by themselves and are not having the team spirit. And I would say that you need to have a diploma, university diploma, if you are not one of these people working in aviation or military. And if you come with a university levels, scientific, most of the time, it's something they like and appreciate. But again, when I see the French woman who has been selected to go to space, Sophia Deno, she's professional helicopter pilot. She's making parachute. She's a private pilot of aircraft. She's making scuba diving. She was making a lot of sports also. So you need also to take care of your physical conditions. You can not only train your brain and neglecting your body, because when you will be in space, you will need to make sport to keep your body fit. So keep it fit already on ground. It will help you for future. Myself, I'm a former ice hockey player and referee, and now I'm doing fitness every week. I'm keeping my heart, my body fit in order to be fit for a launch anytime. This is something important. So for the advice I can give you, it's show yourself also, because if you are invisible, nobody knows that you want to become an astronaut. If you want to be an astronaut, you need to connect with people connected with space. You need to connect with astronauts. Do you have in your country people who flew to space? Try to connect with them, try to see them, make selfie with them, exchange with them, show your passion, and maybe they will open you other doors. Maybe you can become a student to your national space agency. Maybe you can enter a group where astronauts or fans of space are already inside and trying to look for possible solutions to fly to space, because you don't need to be billionaire to go to space. I will give you some examples. Yusaku Maezawa, he's a billionaire. He went to space, a Japanese billionaire went to space by paying his ticket with the Russians. But he did not fly alone. He had a Russian professional cosmonaut with him, and he took his employee. I say again, he took his employee. The guy was working for him. He told him, I'm paying you your ticket to go to space with me, but when you are in space, you make photo and video of me. This is your job. And of course, the guy, he could not say no. Can you imagine? To have such boss, he's giving you $35 million to spend 2 weeks with him in space, and you just need to film him and to make photo of him. Who would say no? I mean, it's just crazy. And this employee, he's not rich. I mean, he's just working for a boss. Other option,
Yeah.
Virgin Galactic, when they send two women from, I think, I don't know if it was Jamaica or something like this, Caribbean side, they were winning a kind of lottery, and the mama and daughter flew to space, okay, 85 kilometers only, but they flew to space without paying anything. That's crazy. And the last option you have, Jared Isaacman, is an American billionaire who went to space. He spent 3 days in space with a SpaceX capsule, and the people who were with him, they were not rich. Not he, but his team invited them because they were making a donation to St. Jude Hospital. So you see, you can go to space without being rich, without being astronaut. You just need to be on the right place at the right time and maybe to know the right people. So I'm telling you, go forward, be positive, think positive, take actions, and you will always learn. If you fail some actions, you will learn from that. If you succeed, you will be proud and take a new action. And that's like this, you can reach your goal.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, Mr. Otter, thank you so much for giving me your time. We've almost gone for an hour and a half now, and I'll have this podcast uploaded on YouTube soon. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you again. And yeah, please do keep in touch with us as well. So, thank you.
With pleasure, we keep in touch, and I will be glad to share your podcast and to make some advertisement for you also.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Garo. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so the recording is stopped.